Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sweet Disaster Podcast. I am bringing an amazing coach to you that I have the pleasure of meeting and getting to talk to. And it's just so powerful what positivity and can bring to life. And so I am excited to introduce you all to Cheryl. She is just a walking sunshine, truly and honestly, a walking sunshine. And so much joy and positivity comes from her. So, Cheryl, will you fill us in on a little bit of who you are and what you do?
Ooh, who am I? I don't know. I'm this magnificent person just out here doing magnificent things. I guess the regular way of describing who I am, like a bio or things like that, is really I am a mindfulness workshop teacher. I also am an entrepreneur. I have this amazing company called PleaseNotes, and it's all about helping you become your favorite version of you. And I do that through the power of affirmations, the power of journaling, and the power of the written word. Of course, we've got guide like gifts. We've also got our guided journals, all of these little bits. But essentially, I'm just all about helping people just step into that next version of themselves that they want to be. We often talk about being the more successful version of you or the confident version of you, but what about your favorite version of you? Who is that? How do you get closer to them? And like even just that level of like self-love and nourishment and giving to oneself, it's something that I feel like is something that we haven't had the opportunity to value as much. But then
Mhm.
also we haven't had the opportunity to learn about who that is and what does that mean and what does living this delicious successful life mean for me, because it's different for me than it could be for you. um yeah, that's basically me.
So, have you always been this like incredibly powerful person, or is this from a repercussion of your own personal journey? Because I know for me, I was positive, but not like I am now. Like I had that, I didn't have the sense of confidence. I didn't have the sense of full on like joy and yearning for life that I do now. But that's a product of my own personal journey. And so is this podcast and everything else that I've created recently. Is that the same kind of a concept for you, or was this kind of like this was my calling from the beginning?
You know what's funny is I always used to be jealous of people that knew, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is who I am at a very young age. But I feel like, the universe is always just like throwing you some stuff because like there's so much opportunity in the growth and like in the journey. And I hate saying that because I'm like, oh, the journey, ugh. But it's the truth. And so to answer your question, starting off, I was definitely the sensitive child in my family. And I think because of that, and just like, the family that I chose into, there was a lot of imposter syndrome. There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of self esteem issues. And I'm grateful for all of that now because I've been able to look back and see like how have I grown through that? Why have I chosen for my life to be different than that amazing little girl, and then being able to like value her on such an amazing level. And I feel like, sometimes we come into these things wishing like, oh, I wish things had have been different. I wish I had like a different family, or I wish, I didn't have to go through that difficulty. But the person that I am today is who I am and is values this work so much because I went through those things. I was always plagued with this whole imposter syndrome, like, who am I? What am I supposed to be? Like, all of these different things. And for myself, coming from an immigrant family, it was very much like you come here, you survive, you get a good job, you do all those things to be successful, and that's it. Like, you coast. And I had achieved a lot of those things at a very young age, and probably about 24. And so I'd gotten the car, I'd gotten the house, I'd gotten the adult job, and I was like, well, what is this? Like, aren't I supposed to be happy now? And it was the complete opposite. You're living your day to day, doing things that, are supposed to be fulfilling for you, but what is fulfilling for you? And at that point, I started to explore, like, okay, well, there has to be something new. I always knew there was another level that I needed to play at or play on. And so I got involved in personal growth. And then that's when I started to decide that like my life could be different, that I could see things differently, that I had the opportunity to explore like what is really important to me, what are the things that I love, and put myself first. And then from there, I mean, started some new companies, got on a couple different adventures, and then went from there.
Which is so powerful because I think we feel like, yes, I mean, I even not coming from an immigrant family, but just from my own family, where you feel like, okay, well, I've got to follow this. My parents have this path written out for me. I have to do this to make them proud, or this is this is how we have this generic definition of success is the house with the picket fence and the car and the kids and the husband and the things. And it's all these things. And then you get it and you're like, now what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily as fulfilling, but I'm empowered by you saying that wasn't enough for you. You wanted that more. You wanted to figure out, you know what, there's something more for me and I know it. And you didn't just coast, you didn't just settle, but you went for beyond that. And that is so inspiring. It's powerful because you can get a lot of backlash for that. You can get a lot of negativity for that, especially in from the family sense, where you're supposed to feel like you could get all the support and love, but yet they look at you and are like, well, you're going against the grain. Why are you doing that? And they have so many questions. Now, how was that a hard thing? Did you have family support at first, or was it more of like, what are you doing?
Cheryl, what are you doing? But I think the thing that I love about my mom, love my mom, shout out to Florence, is that she and I are very similar in some ways. Whereas, like, she was, when she was growing up, she was one of the older children. So she's like, okay, I need to support my family. I think we had about like 7 or 8 brothers and sisters. So she left and started going to different countries to work and send money back home. So when I initially had said, hey, mom, I'm going to move to California, she's like, okay, cool. And like, let me talk about this TV show that I'm on. And I was like, or that I'm watching. I was like, wait a second. Like, I'm the baby. I'm leaving the country. And there's not even like oh no, please stay. None of that. And to her credit, like I appreciate that. She's never been one to like say that you shouldn't do that or you can't do that or any of those sort of things. However, I think for myself, she wasn't able to support me in saying like, keep going, push to that next level. She would definitely, like if I'm like, oh, trying something new that she's never really experienced, like starting a company and like, using a lot of my savings and like all like, slightly more risky things that came down to safety, she wasn't able to support me with. Whereas, some people that have been raised in entrepreneurial families, they're like, yeah, this is just part of it. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, just move through it. One thing that I will say to add on to that is even like the family, like the friends that you grow up with, the family that you grow up with, if they're not willing to see you bigger than you see yourself, then it's hard for you to see yourself that way as well. Oftentimes it's like, even when I said I was moving to California, everyone was like, okay, sure, and thought I was saying it for attention. And I'm like, yeah, no, like this is a date. And like I have 2 going away parties to make sure everybody can come. And I'm leaving. They're like, okay, yeah, sure. Uh-huh. And I posted a picture with me in the U-Haul, like driving down. They're like, "You're really leaving?" I'm like, "What? I don't understand where this like I've been saying this, like I'm gone." And then it's only then that people are like, "Oh, like this is something that I can do. I can change the way that I'm living." And like, look at Cheryl out here doing all these different things. It's very interesting, this whole nature versus nurture situation, being able to break that open and then push through that.
You're so right on that. I remember moving and having so many people look at me and be like, we were military, so we were going. Like this is where we're moving. And people were like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, no, for real. Like I'm going international. Flight leaves tomorrow. Better say your guys now because I don't know the next time I'm home. And so many people thought I was crazy. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you going there? Like, and then when you see it done, they're like, oh, you really did it. I'm like, yeah, I really did it. Like I for real did. And you're like, where was the miscommunication? I thought I put it out there. But I think that I think that both you and I come from the standing of like, I look at it and I'm like, I'm a trailblazer. I'm meant to lead. I've always felt that natural instinct to lead. So for me to leave was like, okay, it's natural. Like I'm going here. Who's coming with, right? Now, do you think that you felt that same way too? Now being an entrepreneur, I know a lot of entrepreneurs who just natural born leaders, like that's just what we do. Um, so for you, I wonder, is that the same thought process, that natural leader and you just wanted more, continued for more? Um, there's no level that can't be reached in your world.
Absolutely not. And I love this because I hope that people don't think that they have to be this confident, courageous, like powerful person to do big things. At the time, I was like, this just feels right. This feels like the next natural step. Even though I don't know, like I knew like a handful of people down there. I ended up attracting an amazing job. I decided to drive down and I didn't know what was the next thing. And even when I was there, I'm all like, who am I to be doing this? Like, this is crazy. Like, Cheryl, what is this? But because my gut was leading me, my gut said, like, Cheryl, this is where you're supposed to be. I trusted in that. And so it's only through this practice of continually trusting my gut, of like, asking like, what's the best thing that could happen versus what's the worst thing that can happen. I've been able to start new things. I've been able to go through trial and error. I've been able to, meet some amazing people and do some really cool things and live in really amazing places. And you don't have to be 150% there, confidence wise, or like within yourself, like feel like, courageous or anything like that. Like you can do these things and it still turn out well. And then in retrospect, you're like, hey, that really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. I don't know. I've always been the leader, not necessarily the confident one, but just the leader. But
Mm.
I do agree that just learning to just trust in your intuition, trust yourself, because that's what it takes. It truly takes trusting you and knowing how to listen to yourself. What are you trying to tell you, or what's the message being given to you? Because when you can trust you, you can step forward into different things and understand that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think, like you said, though, is it does take. I think that trusting yourself and your intuition does take some sort of confidence, because when if I don't trust me and I'm not confident in me, I can't go forward. I can't take that step because I'm too hesitant, or I worry, or I'm trying to stay safe. Um, so what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to go, okay, I want to believe in myself. I want to be confident, but how do I put it all to action? How do I get there to do those things?
Yeah. And to go off of something that you just said that I really loved is like, I've never seen myself as a leader until the last 4 or 5 years. I've always
Oh,
seen myself as a strong second in command. I can execute anything. I'm dedicated to things. I've got you. And so transitioning into a leadership role is something that I love and something that you can evolve into. Speaking to confidence, I think it really leans into the fact of creating evidence, right?
mm-hmm.
So we are really good at psyching ourselves out. And then also the conversations that we're having with ourselves. So a lot of the voices that we have in our heads aren't actually us. I began to start recognizing the voice that's like harsh and cold and controlling and like has a restrictive energy. That's never been me. That's always been the personification of fear. While as if it was myself, if it was like my guidance, if it was like um I don't want to say my confidence, but more like who I really am, that I can lean into, that I can trust. It's always expansion. There's love, there's joy, there's playfulness, there's a lightness to it. So I initially started steering more towards those voices and what that sounded like, and also being cognizant of the other voice and saying, like, okay, do I want that to be true? Is that
Mm,
true? Do I want to keep moving with that? Right. But as you're going through and you're documenting, even in your day, all the things that you've done, I think that's one of the biggest things, because on those days when you don't feel like you're enough, that you feel like you've let everybody down, like, why am I in this? Like the imposter syndrome is like really messing with your head. You have tangible evidence, not only that you have been doing the things that you set out to do, but you've been doing it well. One of the things that I love the most is actually when people read my bio and I'm just like, wait a second, like, yeah, I was in Forbes, and yeah, I was in like Inc. magazine, and like, yeah, I did win an award for that. And I'm like, yeah, I did do this. And I'm just like, wait a second, like, who is this person? But also at the same time, like, no, like, this is me and I can own this. And like, I don't have to earn it. I don't have to prove worthiness to be this person. I already am this person. And the more that we reaffirm that and sit into that of like how amazing and deserving and capable and fantastic we really are as individuals, the more that we can walk in that and attract more of those things we want to.
You're so right, because I know I've even had the time like writing out my bio of like, okay, I'm a best-selling author, I'm a podcast host, I've spoke internationally. I'm like, who is this woman? Like, who am I writing a bio about? Like, and it sounds so crazy, but when you stop, you can be on this trailblazing path, but when you don't stop to look back and be like, hey, look at what I've done, look at how proud I can be, you forget like all the things you've done. Like, so having to write it down, I mean, there's days where I feel like I've sat down and watched Netflix all day and I haven't done anything. But then I actually sit down and I like go to text my husband of like, hey, this is what I did today. And I'm like, oh, wow, I did a lot more than I thought I did. Like, it's such great proof. And I love your encouragement in that action for them, for others to actually write it down. What did you do? And if it's only to yourself and it's on a post-it note and it's 5 things today, but you gave 100% to 5 things, congratulations. Now, if you've got a mile-long list and you did 100% to a mile-long list, again, congratulations. It doesn't matter how big the list is. It's a matter of how good it feels to have accomplished it. Is it something that's moving you stepwardly forward? Like all of that kind of a concept. And I do the same thing, and I tell a lot of people, and it was in actually one of my books, is doing the same thing with affirmations, is, like saying, I am incredible because, and then telling yourself reasons why you're incredible. And it has to go more than just like exterior. It's got to be deep. It's got to go into it, because then, like you're saying, that personification of fear is that negative voice. It's that downward. I always feel downward with the fear. If that starts creeping in, now you have evidence to go, no, I'm not, because, and in that light voice can now put out all the things, right? And it's the same way as writing down what you've done today, but it's the same thing, but it's a different topic, right? It's about you. And we have a harder time looking at us than we do maybe at the things we did today, or like just looking at our personality and who we are. We have a harder time. Do you notice that with people that like come to your workshops and things like that, that recognizing who they are and their abilities is harder for us than it is to find it in somebody else?
Oh, 100%. And I think it really comes down to value. Like the things that who we are as individuals is some of the most precious things about us, right? But oftentimes the things that come easy to us, the things that come naturally to us, like who we are individually, that doesn't seem special. That doesn't seem valuable. It's not like you have to work hard to get it. It just is who you are. However, choosing to see that as some of the most valuable things about yourself is huge. Like if you're looking at anybody that's successful, let's take, for example, Beyonce. There's certain things about her that come naturally that that we applaud. We're like, this person's amazing. Same thing with big athletes. This person is so special in this way, but that's just who they are. And that's also like one of their character traits. So why don't we allow ourselves to relish those character traits within ourselves, right? So for me, public speaking is something that I'm always been really good at. Like, I love being on a stage. Like, it's exciting. I'm like very quick and very witty. And then I'm just like, oh no, that's just me. But that's something that not a lot of people have. And that is
Yeah.
also something that you could charge for. So why am I not leaning into these natural gifts and talents? One of my favorite affirmations right now is I release any value in struggle. And I say that because one of the things that I did growing up is that things weren't worth as much if I didn't work hard for them. If I didn't have success, to me was that pop of relief at the top of like struggle, struggle, struggle. And then you accomplishment, you're like, yeah. And then you're back to the next thing. There was never any time to really steep in the fact of like, you did it, like be proud of yourself. Like, look at you. Ew, what's the next thing? What else feels good? Da, da, da. None of that. And so now I'm just like who I am naturally and the things that come to me naturally, the things that just flow in my life, the opportunities, the places, things. I'm able to say like, oh, I love this and I'm grateful for this. I'm like, wow, let's take this to the next level and just let my success be easy. This is what success looks like to me now. And I'm excited for more success to come to me this way. Also working in flow, working with the law of attraction, working with the universe instead of trying to push things into place will also support you in not getting burnt out and not feeling like you're not enough and not feeling like that you can't do the things. Instead, just being more focused on like how you're feeling as you're going through and achieving these things. Does it feel good? Does it feel natural? Does it feel loving? Does this feel like what you want success to feel like? And leaning more into those things.
Oh, I'm going to encourage all the listeners to go back that entire little chunk right there. Because if you get nothing else out of this entire podcast, it's there. It's right there. Because that's so true. All of it is this. We feel like so many times it's got to be this like, there's got to be the struggle, the pain to have success. And there's got to be this upward battle. And I don't want to say that there isn't some sort of an upward battle, like there isn't some sort of trial and error and difficulties and stretching, right? But there's a difference between stretching and full on trying to kill yourself out there. Like as a runner, I understand there's a difference between hitting one mark versus, like the 12-minute mile will hurt because it's so slow. And other times you're like, okay, well, a 10-minute today is a doozy. And so there's that difference. But the words that I literally took note because that's what I do, is just you. That so many times we'll just say, oh, that's just me, right? I've been told a million times, like, you're so positive and you love talking to people. And I'm like, oh, it's just me. And I'm like, why are we not utilizing those talents? Like so many people feel like I need a degree to do this, or I have to be having some epic talent, or I need whatever to do something or to make, a business out of something. Let's just go that route. Is that, oh, I need something grandiose to be able to make a business out of. And it's like, why are we not just tapping into our own natural talents? Like if yours is public speaking, why are you not on stages? Teaching people how to be on stages, teaching from a stage. Like if that's your natural ability, then go where you're naturally at, because there's a reason why you have that talent and maybe somebody else doesn't. So you need to step into them. Like I have met many people who the fear of standing on a stage in front of people will make them literally hit the floor and just crumble. And okay, but they're great in the back end. They're great behind the scenes, or they're great in another avenue. Where your talents lie are meant for you. Where somebody else's talents lie is meant for them. Like I'm not the greatest artist. So am I going to be out here portraying myself as an artist today? No, that is a struggle that's not worth it. But being here with you, or like you're saying, being on stages or doing retreats, like if that's the natural way, don't fight it. Don't fight it. Go where you are naturally inclined. That's just like I tell my kids all the time, you're mathematically intelligent. Like you love numbers. So put numbers to things that are strugglesome. You know, if reading is not your best, then let's put some numbers in it. Let's talk, like, figure out what works. But there's no need to have to continue to fight when there can be a flow that is just naturally pouring, that just exudes. And so what kind of advice would you give on trying to figure out what is just you, or that is part of that flow, that if somebody's sitting there going like, well, I don't know what that means or what that is for me. Do you have any advice on how to find that flow or find out what is just naturally you?
I love that. And I actually created my clarity journal specifically for that. The workbook inside of it goes through a lot of things where not only you're allowed to give yourself amazing reflections of like the things that you care, like the things you love about yourself, your gratitude practice, but you're able to really plot out, okay, this is my life now, and what do I want for my life? What would I do if I had all the time and money in the world? What did I love doing as a kid? How do I want my success to feel like? Even like little things of like what am I curious about, like just leaning into more of that, following that play, following that joy, following that excitement. Like if you had all day to sit around and like play guitar, like is that fun for you or is that exhausting for you? Like really asking yourself those questions. And again, at this point in time, like some people have like a lot of responsibilities. You might be in a career that you're solidly in for 10, 15 years, whatever it is, and you can't just like quit everything and be like, oh, I'm going to be a rock star. Totally understandable. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking you to start pulling in more of the things that like more of the ways that you receive love is the
Yes.
way I want to say it. Right. So I receive love by doing workshops. I receive so much love. I receive love by like engaging with people and working with people, or like being able to share my gifts and talents. I receive love that way. I receive
Mhm.
love by like playing with my nephews and making a new song. Like I receive love that way. So with those things that you naturally receive love, aka playing with your gifts and talents, what are more ways that you can integrate that in your day to day? And it might just be, again, like, buying an easel set and playing with more like watercolors. It could be like, like starting a new charcuterie business or learning how to do digital e-commerce or whatever. And then just start pulling in, like, maybe if I did this like twice a week, or maybe if I started to learn how to do line dancing or the boot scoot boogie, on the weekend, or, let me get this new app that's going to help me practice singing so that I feel confident enough to actually start paying for singing classes, because this is something that like I've always wanted to do, but I've never really had the space to play in. And then just let it go. Like start it and then just follow it. Like what is the next step? And it's going to naturally pull you. You might be like playing with singing and then like, end up hanging out with these people and being a part of this band, or even just being in a place where you're getting invited to like start doing event work and you're like, oh, I love event work. And just naturally letting your intuition, letting your curiosity, letting your joy pull you to the next thing, and just be easy with it.
I love it so much, because I think that I'm a person that, like, words matter. So you, by saying, what do you love? Like, how do you receive love is that makes it so much more clear, right? Because like, okay, do I receive love the same as like my husband? I can tell you that is an absolute no. Like, I'm a book, I am a very connective person. Like, I want the connections. I want to serve. My joy comes from charity and serving. Like, if I could be feeding people day in and day out, I would. Like, I would feed people. I would talk with people. I would read with people. Like, if I could open up a bookstore that had a restaurant inside of it, that is like life goals, right? That makes me happy. And it would be fun. Would that be fun for my husband? Absolutely not. Like, my husband is like, let me go tinker out in the middle of the woods where there is not a single soul in about 40 miles. Like, that is him. And but that's what makes him happy and what makes his love. And that's what we do, though, is like there's times where I'm in the bookstores and having fun and in the kitchen, and then the next minute we're out in the middle of a cornfield hunting and enjoying the silence. But it's that understanding like what truly makes you happy, but not just happy, but what shows you love. Because
Mm-hmm.
watching my children laugh and play is fun, and I like that, and it makes me happy. But is that necessarily how I receive love from them? Not really. So using the word love, and I love that you use the word play,
Mm.
because we forget that life is about play. We all grow up and we forget that, like, okay, we had a childhood dream of what we wanted life to look like or what our job would be like. We feel like we cannot play as adults. We have to be serious and stern and get the career, and you can't enjoy. And I admire how much you use the word play, because that brings a sense of light and lightness to life. Because life is to be enjoyed. Life is to be something you want to be a part of. And we were talking before we started on the word delicious, because you used that. And makes me so happy, because it's something about yearning. Like when we think of that as being delicious in a form of like a dinner, or, something looks delicious, you want it. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's craveable. It's picture worthy, right? Like how many times do I stop my family all the time? And I'm like, don't touch that. It looks so pretty. Let me take I know people. It's because it's so mouth-wateringly delicious that you want it, right? And you want to captivate it and capture it and be a part of it. And that's what our life should be like. And so I think these are, if nobody, not only do you take that section away from earlier, rewind, but put these three words of delicious, play, and love into your vocabulary, because these are words that are transformative. They're incredible in the realm of how you look at your life and yourself and what you're doing, because it can either bring a positive or a negative. But when you put these words into your vocabulary, this is only going to bring light and positivity and joy. And I am just, so glad that everybody gets to hear this today, because this is so powerful. I know you mentioned about your journal, your clarity journal. So how do we get a hold of your products, your journals? I mean, because I know I already am like, we need so many people need that journal. I know a few that would be perfect for it. So how do we get our hands on our products, and how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we are in a couple of stores over Canada and the US. However, it's always easiest if you come direct to the source. So my website is www.pleasenotes.com. Please as in please and thank you. Notes as in notes of love.com. I'm on Instagram at pleasenotesgoods.com, or no, pleasenotesgoods. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn, just underneath Cheryl Sutherland. If you are looking to have workshops done, if you're looking to have things co-facilitated along with like having the journals, whether it's the gratitude, the clarity, we've also got some really great DEI workshops that I've created. And then of course we've got things like the manifestation planner that's really juicy for like plotting out your day, the feeling that you want to have, the intention you want to bring to everything. And then from there, like create, like doing the things and then creating evidence that you are, in fact, this amazing, powerful, deserving person. So that when you move forward with clarity and with confidence.
Oh, so awesome. So guys, if you haven't, go and look Cheryl up, find her notes is, there's notes within the show notes here, but make sure that you are following along with Cheryl with PleaseNotes and everything they have going on. Get in touch, find out, get your hands on these products, because when I talk transformation, there's nothing but incredible power in them. So you deserve it. Remember, that's the difference, is that you deserve that kind of a life and that joy in it. So make sure you follow along with Cheryl and PleaseNotes, and follow along in the podcast, because there's more incredible guests coming. But thank you so much for being here, Cheryl. It means the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on creating this amazing space for people to connect and to learn and to grow and to lean in into what the future of their lives can be. Playing a little bit more with possibility.
Oh, thank you so much. And guys, we'll talk soon. So make sure you're following along for more.